now emailed the minutes of the April 7th meeting. Do you have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Make the motion to accept them as emailed. Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. John Scott is here. John was hired by the city to do a financial study for our stormwater rates. And so at this time, I'll invite John forward to go over what he has proposed.
Good evening. Pat passed out a report to you on the stormwater, and I'll go over the results of our findings. If you go to page 2 of the report, we have presented a historical balance sheet.
They don't have this.
No, they don't.
I'm sorry, I'm on the rate report. I know you have another report from us on the analysis of the bond issue savings. I'm on the stormwater rate report, so I'm going over
The first one?
the first one passed out.
And I don't think Bob and Bob had that.
Give us that one.
I've got some extra.
You have some extra? Okay.
No, that's a municipal sewer.
Yeah, there's two different reports.
Yeah, this in here should say Decatur Municipal Stormwater Utility.
Thank you. On page 2 of the balance sheet, you can see that the historical position of the utility. I will tell you one of the things to look at so far is in the stormwater. You can see in our utility plant service, we have just a little over $500,000 that has been spent on utility plant service since the utility began. I know there's a lot more assets than that in the ground currently, but that's what has been booked so far since the beginning of the rate that was put into place. Operating fund has grown over time, but as you look at it, it's really not at a point you can do a lot of major projects. And so while there has been some ability, once you spend that down, then you're going to have trouble meeting the operating expenses. And so note that if you go down to the liabilities section, the thing to note there is there's no debt on the stormwater books currently. So good cash position thus far, no debt on the books. So from just a financial stability point, the stormwater utility is in pretty good shape. As you go to the next page, which is the historical income statement, I will tell you that revenues have been very steady. You may say that in 2014, it looks like the revenues went up quite a bit from about 210,000 to 243. But if you look at the miscellaneous income section, there was some reimbursements we received. The miscellaneous income line there up at the top, we did receive reimbursements of about $32,000. There were special things that don't come in year over year, and I'll show you we made some adjustments for that. Expenses have varied through repairs and just natural inflation and those type of things. And I will tell you that what we did is on page 4, we took your historical financial statements for the test year ended December 31st, 2014, and made adjustments to us for things that we kind of project going forward. One adjustment that we did make, and the adjustments are outlined on page 5, so you can see all the adjustments we made to the financial statement. We did know that there was an annexation that's currently under consideration. In order to be fair and try to show the impact of everything that's going on, we did adjust as if that annexation were to happen. That doesn't mean it has to happen, but just showing what the impact would be here. The $9,200 increase in our stormwater fees there. And then our adjustment 2, we did adjust out to $31,500 of non-reoccurring reimbursements that we had. And then also adjustment 3 made a salary adjustment as well. That really gets us to the crux of and I guess going back to page 4, what we're looking at there is on an adjusted basis, saying going forward, with our current rates, we'd anticipate getting about $221,000 a year of revenue coming in, considering the annexation. Deduct $9,000, make it $212 if you would, without that. And about $185,000 of cash expenses. We do have some depreciation there as well, but our cash expense would be a little over $185,000 a year. So what we really were looking at then is, on page 6, how do we fund the capital improvement plan? The city has some needs in the stormwater area. There's some projects that need to be completed. Nate, and he came up with a list of those projects on page 6. If you have questions about the project, I'll definitely punt those to Nate because I'm not the engineer that can answer all those questions. But those projects come up to about $5.7 million. None of the projects really are at a place yet that are ready to be financed or anything like that. So we're really looking for some type of system where we can start bringing in some revenue-funded money, some capital improvement money that can be used year over year to make these improvements. And so what we did is kind of go to page 7 and just kind of look at what different rates would bring in as far as the ability to accomplish the capital improvement plan. Operating revenues, as we showed our current rates, $221,000. And I'll just give you the numbers. Without the annexation, you would deduct about $9,200 from the first column there under current rates. You deduct about $18,000 with the phase 1 rate is $350, and phase 2 would be about a little over $23,000. That's the effect of the annexation. But what we were looking at here with the current rates, you'd be bringing in about $36,000 a year if you look at the line there, amount available for annual capital improvements. And just trying to put that number in perspective, that's 159 years, 160 years to complete the projects. What we're recommending is that as of June of this year, effective at the passage of the ordinance, when the ordinance is passed, we'd recommend the rate go up to $3.50 per month. You can see that keeping that number in perspective, that would generate about $242,000 a year in capital improvement money, which is a 24-year cycle for the projects you have listed. And then the $4.50 rate would bring in about $364,000, which is a 16-year cycle. What we're recommending is, like I said, upon passage in June of this year, that it go up to $350 per month. And then what we recommended is you give that about a year and a half cycle at the $350. And then on January 1st of 2017, the stormwater rate be raised to the $4.50 per month level. Now that is a residential rate of $350 or $450, and we do understand the others are calculated on the equivalent residential unit or an ERU basis. The proposed rates are on page 8, the rate schedule, if you would. And your rate schedule is basically a residential rate with all other users, non-residential users, calculated based on their ERUs. So our recommendation to get the capital improvement money coming in and get started on some of the projects and get the process rolling, so some of the things to be completed, as I said, is to phase in the rate, the first $350, and then on 2017, move it to $450. I believe that's what the ordinance, the language in the ordinance reflects that proposal.
Yeah.
John, on page 7, the less adjusted operation and maintenance expenses, Exhibit C, going back to page 4.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got the same amount there throughout. Is that a pretty constant figure, or is that going to...
I could have shown like a 2 or 3% inflation here, but I tried to just stay conservative, and but for the public's use, I didn't want to show any inflation in the expenses. I just said, let's say we can hold those constant, then we can bring in this amount of money to try to accomplish this capital improvement.
Well, the current rate was established in 2004. Now it's basically covering the cost of what we have. It doesn't allow us to do any projects. Nate has given John a list of projects here. It's not like we're going to have the money to do those projects in a year or two. It's something that's going to happen over a period of time. But these projects are throughout the whole city, and they're not concentrated in one area. It's all over the whole city. So we want to get the projects done. We have to raise the rate. I hate to say it, but that's basically what it's going to take. Any questions?
I will say if your public has any questions, my phone number is at the very front on the page 1. Feel free to give me a call. If the public does. If you have any questions tonight, but if you're after tonight, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
I think it's required here. we should probably pass, I would recommend we pass it on the first and second reading, this stormwater ordinance, and then table it to the...
You have what I would
May fifth.
recommend is that you introduce, and I think it's out of sequence here, but it's ordinance number 2015-7, and it establishes the rates as recommended by the study. You would take action on first and second reading, then you would table it, schedule a public hearing on the rate increase for May 5th, and after the May 5th meeting, then you would take final action on third reading.
On May 5th, at the same meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the report, John.
You ready for
Yeah, so
If you wanna-
if you so desire, we'll move forward with this ordinance.
move that ordinance number 2015-7 be placed in its first reading by short title?
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Ordinance number 2015-7, short title, an ordinance establishing a schedule of user fees to be collected by the city of Decatur, Indiana from users and owners of property served by the stormwater utility of said city and other matters connected therewith.
Move for passage of ordinance 2015-7 on its first reading.
Second.
Motion second, have roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Bill Crown.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Ken Meyer.
Yes. Move that ordinance number 2015-7 be placed in its second reading by short title.
Second. Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Ordinance number 2015-7, short title, an ordinance establishing a schedule of user fees to be collected by the city of Decatur, Indiana from users and owners of property served by the stormwater utility of said city and other matters connected therewith.
Move for passage of ordinance 2015-7 on its second reading. Second.
Motion second, have roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Bill Crown.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Ken Meyer.
Yes. And I move that ordinance number 2015-7 be tabled until after the public hearing on May 5th for adoption at that time. There.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next item, we have a petition from the Adams Memorial Hospital for annexation into the city. Turn it over to Tim.
Okay, the hospital has made a request to be annexed. The petition has been signed by Joe Allen Item, who's Chief Executive Officer of the Adams Memorial Hospital. It's a request by both the hospital and the Hospital Association to annex property. The legal description is attached to the petition, as well as a map depicting the area that would be annexed. So at this time, there needs to be a motion to accept the petition, and then that starts the process. I think Christie is here to perhaps review some of the information in the fiscal plan, but in addition to making the petition a matter of record, then there would be a motion to introduce Resolution 2015-5, which is a resolution that basically approves the fiscal plan. And then with regard to the annexation ordinance, that's ordinance 2015-5, and you would introduce that as well. You take action on neither one of those. They're simply introduced and then tabled. And it would be tabled until after a public hearing would be held, which would need to be held on May 19th. After that meeting, then you would take action on the resolution to approve the fiscal plan. You would then take action on the annexation ordinance on first and second reading, and then table it for third and final reading to the June 2nd meeting. Okay? So the first thing would be to make a matter of record the filing of the petition for and consent to annexation by the hospital and the Hospital Association.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Okay? And then Christie, I don't know if you want to go ahead and review
Yeah,
the fiscal
excuse
plan
me,
at this
yeah.
point?
We hired Sturts Public Management to do a fiscal plan for us, so Christie's here, maybe we can go over that. Well, I thought I did, Christie, but mine is an old one, I think. Mine's outdated.
Your new and improved one.
Yeah.
You have one for all of us.
In color.
Give one of the media, then, please.
And from Christie's on. Or if you have it, I'll keep it for yourself.
Like I said, we hired Sturts Public Management to lead us through this process, and Christie, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Good evening, this is Sturts Public Management. Thank you for letting me go over this with you this evening. As Tim had said, he has went through the overview of the process for annexation. Per state statute, a fiscal plan needs to be prepared for the annexation, and I'll just kind of go over some general highlights here. The overall area is to the south side of the community. It's 133 acres. We've estimated the population of the area to be 192 persons, which includes residents at Woodcrest Retirement, Community Villas, the garden apartments, and the new nursing home facilities. The overall assessment of the property in the area is at zero because it's the hospital and the related facilities that are tax exempt. So that is where that's at. And if this were to be annexed, we believe it would be in District 2 of City Council District. For state law requirements, anytime that you're developing an annexation, you need to make sure certain requirements are met. One is in regards to the contiguity to the city. There is one option where if the area is at least 1/8 contiguous or 12.5%, you can annex it if the resident population has a density of at least 3 persons per acre, if it's 60% subdivided, or if the territory is zoned for business or commercial use. You can also annex it if it's at least 25% contiguous to the city, as long as you can show that it's needed and can be used by the community. One of the arguments for this is if it already has access to city and water and sewer, it's already being really kind of used as part of the community. The annexations can happen both voluntarily and involuntarily. One type of voluntary annexation that can occur is if it's a super voluntary, which means 100% of the property owners sign a petition. That allows a more abbreviated process to occur, such as tonight, as well as with the wetlands annexation that happened before. If you have one that's not 100%, you're going to see a little bit longer process. Through the development of the annexation fiscal plan, we need to kind of discuss the needs for the annexation. I think the thought behind this overall annexation is that the hospital is a community partner. It's important for your community, for the quality of life of your community. So part of the entertainment of the petition is to help community partners to be able to provide the services that they do. Also, the land, as you're expanding further to the south, that it will enable you to continue to grow your community further to the south. So it gives you that contiguity for future growth and annexation to occur.
So this plan does meet the requirements of...
Meets those requirements, yes.
Gotcha.
As we go through the process, sent out a letter to each of the departments to see what the level of services would be for bringing this annexation in. The overall breakdown of the 5-year summary is on page 14. And one of the reasons I believe, and the mayor can expand on this in a minute, for the request for petition is that there's been some significant fluctuation in regards to water and sewer rates over the last few years. What's being reflected in the overall plan here is based on an average over the last 6 months. And so by bringing the hospital in, they would then fall under the city's rate versus the out-of-city rate. So there would be some, loss in revenue because of that change. There would also be an increase in the stormwater revenue, and I will say that that number will increase because of the decision that you just made in regards to the stormwater. So, depending on the year, I believe from talking with Dan, 16, you'll see probably another $10,000 in revenue, and then starting in 17, an additional $15,000 in revenue on the stormwater side. So that's something that can be amended as part of the plan. And I will say, as far as this overall process, there are some potential state changes in regards to annexation and how you go through the process. So however you decide, whatever your decision-making is on this, I would recommend that you try to conclude any passage of ordinance prior to June 30th before the new rules kick in, or you're going to have to
Redo
it.
everything.
So that's all I had, Mayor. I didn't know.
Well, yeah, a couple things. I guess maybe we should go through the municipal services, if you could, just
Okay.
briefly.
Okay.
Each department and how much that's going to cost.
Sure. I'll go back here. As far as the police department, they have they're anticipating an additional 10 calls, page 6, per year. And based on a cost per call of $122, they're estimating approximately $1,200 a year impact to that. Talk to the fire department. They are currently providing fire protection services to the area through a service contract with the township. That could potentially change if the township wanted to renegotiate that, but according to the chief, that's already, they're already kind of receiving quite a bit of services for what that contract is providing. So we didn't really include a net cost there because that service is really already being provided. Did not have anything for the solid waste. As far as street lighting, estimating an addition of 6 new street lights within the area for a total of $8,000. And then an estimated cost of maintaining part of Mercer. Part of it is in the city, adjacent to the annexation area, and part of it is not. It used to be when you did annexation, you could include like road up to the center line, and then state law changed and said, you know what, that's really not real realistic. Either you maintain the road or you don't maintain the road. So we've cleaned that up. We're bringing in all of Mercer, and then that will go down to, I believe, 200 to the south. So there will just be some of that cost. In addition, the water rates that by changing from being in-city to out-of-city, or out-of-city to in-city, we're estimating that based on the water usage for the last 6 months, this will decrease by approximately $15,000 a year. And for the sanitary sewer, estimating that decrease will be around $62,000 a year. And again, that is just based on the last 6 months as that stands.
Okay, and that's the 2 items I really wanted to bring up, and I apologize. I want to let you know Dean Wheeler is here on behalf of the hospital. Excuse me, Dean, for not introducing you. And in fact, if you have a copy of this, I think I gave Dean a copy. He's got a copy of this. So we will be discussing this like tonight. It doesn't matter what that is. but it'd be for further discussion. I think we want to sit down with the hospital and get an explanation on some of these issues, so when we do go to vote on the ordinance and the resolution, that we'll have some answers to those questions. Because just informally, by informing council what's going on, there has been some questions about, is this a good deal for the city, basically. I don't mean to speak for anybody, please speak up if you so desire. But these here do have an impact, and so I don't want to mislead anybody. What really happened, I'll give you a brief history of this, is when the hospital was built, of course they had a meter, a water meter in. That's how we bill for our water and sewer, is through the water usage. Okay, so from 2005, when the hospital was built, to late 2013, we used a meter, and the bill came up to about $2,000 a month. Okay. In late 2013, that was about mid-2013, I guess. But anyhow, we put a new meter in, and we found out that the old meter really wasn't registering all the water that was being used. We didn't know that. And that's what really spurred the annexation, was because one way the hospital could save some money was to be in-city rates versus out-city rates. So we were fine. We were going to work with the hospital. And so that would bring their, by being outside, their bill went from $2,000 to $18,000 a month. $16,000, $15,000, $16,000 per month more. And so working with the city, they looked at annexation, and my approach was, okay, so if they're in the city, we're going to get about 10 to 12,000 if they're in the city, versus the 18 to 20,000 being out of the city. So, hey, our revenue is going to go up from 2,000 to 10, so we get a net gain of 8,000. Hey, and it helps the hospital out. So, Dean, if I off track with that, please interject at any time. So that's the reason we got the annexation. So now, Christie, we hired Christie to do her job. She has to take what the current rate is. So it's really showing this loss that we're going to be losing $77,000 a month, basically. Or a year, excuse me, not a month, a year. And I guess technically that's correct.
Losing or not gaining?
Not gaining.
Not gaining.
That's a better term. To me, we were at 2,000. We went to 10,000. That's 8,000 times. Take that times 12. You're right at $100,000. So anyhow, so we have some questions on that, and I think they will be addressed. And I think we may ask Christie to refigure with what the hospital's usage is. The hospital's usage has come up and down, up and down. We sat down with the hospital in the last couple of days, and we think we understand where they're at and what the usage is going to be. So I think we can recalculate this. Is that a normal thing to do, to recalculate this?
Well, I talked to Tim about that today, about the appropriateness of doing that.
Right. I think you have the ability, because the plan itself is not going to be acted upon until May 19th. So I think the sooner we can revise the figures, because you do want that made available for anyone that would like to see it in advance of the public hearing.
And I think we as a city administration want to know that too. So I think what I would suggest is we give Christie some additional information Dan can supply through the water department, and that we can calculate this to get an exact number, and then get it to you before the public hearing on May 19th. Mm-hmm. And then we can really have the facts laid out. Because right now, with the usage of the hospital fluctuating so much, it's kind of hard to come down with a precise number. Am I calculating that right?
Yeah, and another option, Tim, could be if you didn't want to wait another couple weeks for the public hearing. We do have a little bit of time built in there if we were to want to postpone that. Not a lot of time, maybe one meeting. So that's just another option.
So that's kind of where we're at. Tim, you have any suggestions on?
I would
want to make sure we do it.
I would
Correct.
suggest that we stay on the May 19th schedule, but to the extent that we receive any additional information that necessitates updating the fiscal plan as it's previously been prepared, I think we can certainly supplement it.
Is that okay with you, Christie?
Yes, and I think that the notice goes in the newspaper on Monday.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday. So I think it would be good to be able to, within the next couple of days, turn that around,
Right.
because and that way it'll all be in place.
Yeah.
But the water and the sewer issue seemed to become an issue, so I didn't want to just rush it through. I wanted Christie to explain it, and everybody to understand my approach and how the hospital's approach was to this and where we're at today. So right now, I think then to finish out your cost of service that you were doing, and there really wasn't any other impact from any of the other departments. Is that correct?
Right, and then we did show some additional revenue with MBH now on that, anytime you're bringing in additional, roadway, you're gonna get a little bit.
Get a little more
from
money,
that.
yeah.
You could potentially get some additional in regards to like your seated and so forth. I didn't include that in because sometimes those are calculated, way out there, and there's so many different things that go into that distribution that I didn't feel that have to do with population coming in and out, that I did not include that in there.
Okay, that's good. So tonight, what I'm suggesting is we've already accepted the petition, and we have a resolution that we can introduce, and that's all we're going to do is introduce. We're not going to vote on it to approve it or disapprove it or anything, and the same with an ordinance. So tonight, all we're going to do is really introduce two items. One's a resolution. Tim, if you could give me that number.
The resolution would be Resolution 2015-5.
And again, it's just introducing. We're not acting, we're not approving this annexation at this time. It's just getting it into the process that we have to follow. So, we need a motion to introduce Resolution 2015-5, which approves the fiscal plan.
But before we do that,
Okay?
I want to stress to Dane and all the hospital board and everyone that the city wants to partner and work with the hospital. But the way it's presented here, and you refer to it as loss in revenue, that's surplus money for the hospital and loss in revenue for the city. And that's why I just want to reiterate, that's why we would like a little more accurate depiction based on what you think your water usage will actually be going forward. Because they were kind of erratic, but you found some reasons why they were hit and miss.
We believe it should be fairly stable going forward.
Right. But we'd just like to see the numbers based on that.
And that's why I'm proposing we do with Christie, to give her what we're anticipating those usage numbers to be. Get them to Christie, she recalculates that, reports back to us, and then I get that information out to you as soon as possible.
I would just do it as an addendum to the fiscal plan that's been filed.
But if we ask people, we just raised our stormwater rate. There's going to be other rate increases because our infrastructure, everything, and we all recognize that. So when we're talking about a loss of revenue, somebody's going to make it up somewhere because our expenses aren't going to go away. They're going to be there, so that's my concern.
Okay.
And that's how we have to look at it.
Right.
So, we still got resolution number 2015-5, if we want to just introduce only.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. We also we need to introduce, to get the process continued, an ordinance, no vote again, but just introduce the ordinance, and it's ordinance 2015-6.
No, it's ordinance 2015-5.
5.
So it has the same number, but one's resolution,
They're both
one's
the
an
same.
ordinance.
Both numbers, okay. That's it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2015-5. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Thank you, Christie. We appreciate your help and leadership through this process. I don't understand it all, but I think the legislature did that on purpose, so I don't understand it.
And Phyllis, if you would, just in the minutes, make note of the fact that the public hearing will be held on May 19th, and there will be a legal notice in the paper to that effect.
Okay. We got another ordinance. Tim, don't leave yet.
I'm not.
Okay. This one here is for amended sewer bond ordinance.
Yes. You want me to explain this?
Please do.
Okay.
This goes back to that other sheet that was handed out to you.
As you recall, previously you adopted a bond ordinance that authorized borrowing up to $6 million for the various sewer projects that we are going to be required to undertake in order to meet the agreed order with item. In the meantime, we've reached a point where we can consider refinancing a prior bond issue. It was bond issue issued for sewer projects back in 2004. Typically, bond issues have a period of time in which you cannot refinance the bond that protects the bond purchaser so that they're sure of getting a decent rate of return on their investment. But we are far enough into that bond issue that we do have the option of refinancing. While Crow Horwath was looking at our various rate structure, we inquired about whether it made sense to consider refinancing the 2004 bond issue at the same time as we were placing the bond issue for the upcoming sewer projects. They did an analysis and determined that in fact it does make sense. Their basically rule of thumb is that any time you can achieve at least a 3% value to refinancing, then you should take action to do so because it's prudent to do so. And in the city's case, by refinancing the 2004 bonds, it will achieve a 4.24% net present value. So if you go back, they submitted an analysis of whether it made sense to refinance, and if you go back to page 2, it will show you the net savings, I believe, over the course of the remainder of the bond issue down at the bottom, which is roughly $145,000. So, it makes sense to refinance it. So in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to amend the existing bond ordinance to include that refinancing aspect. So the bond issue is actually, will move to $9.5 million, $6 million for funding the new projects that are coming up in the next couple of years, and $3.5 million to cover the cost of refinancing the 2004 bond issue.
How many years was the original bond?
I think it was 20.
So this is going to be the additional 20, but at a different rate.
Yeah. And it makes that savings could be more depending on the rate that actually is achieved. It's critical that we move forward with this because if the Federal Reserve increases rates in June, then that impacts our rates, so we're trying to get this accomplished before that occurs. So the idea is that taking action tonight on first and second reading here, final reading at the next meeting would put us in a position where that bond could be sold May 19th and it would actually close on the 2nd of June then. So we're trying to take advantage of the existing environment as far as competitive rates. The other thing, an ancillary advantage of the stormwater rate increase is that because that is under the umbrella of the sewage department, even though those are stormwater funds and aren't used to pay the bond issue, it does factor into what's called a coverage, and the higher your coverage percentage, the better the opportunity to get a low interest rate on the bond issue. So by having that completed and in place, that can factor into this so that when the bond issue, the notice of selling of bonds is issued to potential bond buyers, when they review the official statement for that, they'll see that coverage, and it attracts more buyers. The more buyers you have, the better interest rate you ultimately receive on the bond. So we're trying to coordinate this, and there's a number of moving parts, but we're trying to maximize the benefit to the city by doing this.
The original one was 10 years ago?
2004.
It was for 20 years, so we have 10 years left on it.
9, yeah.
And so do we have to go 20 years? I mean, would it make sense to...
It's just like refinancing a house. You're refinancing for a new period.
Right.
I understand that, but would it be...
You're not going to recognize the savings then.
Okay.
So that takes an ordinance to do, and I recommend that we pass this ordinance on first and second reading this evening and table it to the May 5th.
What's the number?
It's ordinance number 2015-6. And I greatly appreciate that you allow me to read it on short title because it's 48 pages long. And I don't want to read the whole thing.
Make a motion that we place ordinance 2015-6 in its first reading by short title.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Ordinance number 2015-6, short title, amended and restated ordinance concerning the construction of additions and improvements to the sewage works of the city of Decatur, authorizing the refunding by the city of its sewage works revenue bonds of 2004, if economically advantageous, the issuance of revenue bonds to provide the cost thereof, the collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of said works, the safeguarding of the interests of the owners of said revenue bonds, other matters connected therewith, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds, and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
Move for passage of ordinance 2015-6 in its first reading.
Second. Motion and a second, we'll have roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Bill Crow.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Ken Meyer.
Yes. Move that ordinance 2015-6 be placed in its second reading by short title.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
Ordinance number 2015-6, short title, an amended and restated ordinance concerning the construction of additions and improvements to the sewage works of the city of Decatur, authorizing the refunding by the city of its sewage works revenue bonds of 2004 if economically advantageous, the issuance of revenue bonds to provide the cost thereof, the collection, segregation, and distribution of the revenues of said works, the safeguarding of the interests of the owners of said revenue bonds, other matters connected therewith, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds, and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith.
I move for passage of ordinance 2015-6 on its second reading.
Second.
Motion second, we'll have roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Bill Crow.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Ken Meyer.
Yes. And when will we have passage? May 5th?
Table, third and final reading on May 5th.
Make a motion to table ordinance 2015-6 until our May 5th meeting for passage at that time.
Second. Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, sorry Ron Bolenbacher took so long to get to you here, but you got the floor. Excuse me. Ron Bolenbacher is the Adams County Veteran Service Officer, and he's here for something.
I'm here to thank you for your support the past few years, and ask for it again next year. There's some new things coming up. Done, if everybody's been through the graveyards, especially Decatur and St. Joe, you'll notice a little bit of difference. You'll notice flags are sticking in the upright position. That's basically the result of two guys. I hope you keep them in your back of your mind. If you see them, pat them on the back and say thank you, and that's none other than Bob Hoffman and Bruce Reinball.
Oh.
They took the bull by the horns on this thing up here. They helped St. Joe in revitalizing their graveyard. Of course, St. Joe had a donation, and they went and built all brand new grave markers. And so they helped those guys out there install them, plus they went in and drilled into the masonry, put it in the base of the gravestone, and then cemented it in there. It's not permanent, it can be wiggled out, taken out. But we think that's probably the way we're going to try to go the rest of the county, because that eliminates a lot of lawnmower damage. The problem you get when you stick them in the ground, is, you go out to the side of the gray marker, gray zone, that cement puddles out 6-7 inches, and you're that much, that's far away from the gray zone. So sometimes it's hard to tell where the better, which one is better is buried. So that's one of the projects. We're going to try it down at MRE, see how it goes, and we're probably going to expand that throughout the county.
Yeah, MRE is located just to the west of Byrne on Highway 218 there.
There's about 100 to 150 already done out there that way. And you know what we're doing is taking the pressure off of the landscapers out there. And it's got to be a nightmare for this guy's trying to get around all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if we can get it up next to the gray zone, then that eliminates a lot more damage, and that's where a lot of this damage is coming from. Another problem we've had is the flags hit this thing, they whip it around, they wall the threads out, pour all the things hanging sideways. I'm sure you've all seen them out there. Sometimes the flags land on the ground and break the lugs off. This is something that's been sticking in our crawl for a lot of years. It seems like the only time we paid any attention to it was this time of year when we go out to the Greystones and saw the new flags out there. But nobody really had a solution. Last year, somebody came up with a solution. I'm not even sure who, but we found it by double netting them. Kind of solved the problem. So what we're doing is taking the aluminum shaft. There's only like a 1/4 inch thread on there from the factory. We're extending it out 3/4 of an inch. Put a nut on the top and a nut on the bottom. Pass that around and see what we're talking about. So far it's working. Hopefully we're doing that throughout the county. And then we also want one step further. This normal flag stick's about 28 inches long. We took 7 inches off of it. The guys thought that by doing that, it reduced some of the pressure on it once it gets wet, ruining the gray marker itself.
My dad always
That's pretty much all I got to say.
Good.
You got any questions?
Are you asking for money?
Who was your other volunteer? I'm sorry. Bruce Wright-Ball, and who was the other guy?
Bob
Bob Hoffman.
Hoffman.
And Bruce, tell you how dedicated he was. He rigged him up as a vise on his trailer hitch, the reese hitch. They go out to the graveyard, he'd stick that in there. They'd pull the shaft out of the ground, take it over, take the marker off, rethread it, put it back on, double nut it, take it back over, stick it right back in the ground. And he had his life back and stuff right out the graveyard. That's all he did. But they probably had over 200 man hours in St. Joe, helping St. Joe get fixed up, and then they completed Decatur.
That's good.
And so if anybody's in doubt about whether we live in a patriotic county, all you have to do is drive out through there and see all
That's great. That's very nice.
nice.
Thank you.
That's all I
So
got.
Ron, don't we normally contribute to
You
these
do.
markers?
You do?
That's right.
And the commissioners really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I think formally, we need to, if we're going to do that, we should do it tonight, since Ron's brought it to our attention. I think in the past, we've given $500, and it came out of common council funds, so I'm definitely in favor of doing it, but it's just a council decision.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Phyllis, I don't know, do you need some kind of...
Thank you very much.
I'll need an
I'd
invoice.
like to
Some
say-
kind of an invoice, or something you can come up with, send it to Phyllis.
I think last time the county had the bill, and then we wrote the check to the company.
Well, I think it went to the auditor or went to the county.
Yeah. So does she
I will
have...
say, last year, I noticed you guys have done this the last 4 or 5 years. I thought, well, that's not fair. The other city councils might want to jump in too, so I
Yeah,
contacted each one of them, and they all 3 pitched in.
good.
And
Good.
the commissioners appreciate it. It takes a lot of pressure off their budget. Incidentally, I cut the flag order down a little bit this year, but I had to buy 100 of those because we're running grocery low on World War II's and Korea's.
Well, thanks, Ron, for what you do for the veterans. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Adam McGee is here. I wonder what he wants.
As long as they hit 23 years now.
Kenny, could you pass those down to Bob and Bob?
Made ask for your permission and financial support for 23rd fireworks display. Event to be held behind Riverside Center on July 4th.
Already gave you that.
I've already secured with some of our past sponsors, like the VF Setting Up at 1636, the VF 30 Men's Auxiliary, West End Restaurant, Buckwheat,
Pest Control as major sponsors. This year, something new is we're going to team up with Evans Memorial Hospital as the main sponsor as we help them celebrate their 10th year anniversary in the new hospital. We're still working on plans on this and we'll let more information as the things go by. Every year we try to improve this program. Like any other year, we again strive in a bigger and better fireworks show. I know this because it's a great backup I have in the person that has working for me and with me. Some of them, like one of the main people that help us is B&T Fireworks. They have been with us all the time.
No.
So again, I ask for your support on this, both financial and your backing, and give us time to make preparations.
Yeah. I know we always make sure you work with the Parks Department and make sure there's no conflicts. Work with the Street Department and the fire, of course.
City departments and living behind us all the way.
Yeah.
and we appreciate their help.
Normally we have an event form that you fill out, I
You're all
think.
right. You didn't
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, well, you will this year.
That was a...
We do, I mean, it's just, it's hard to tell somebody else to do an event form if we don't make everybody else do
No,
it.
because I always make contact with everybody, so
Yeah,
everybody works together.
yeah. So if you'd like, stop, see me, and I'll get you the form, and we'll fill it out the best we can and get it to the department.
And then I can have you give the welcome and speak together.
Sure. It's a great event. I think everybody's probably been to the fireworks, but it is a wonderful event. And we thank Evans Memorial for jumping on as a sponsor. So,
Thank you guys, the city council, for all the years you've been with us.
yeah, good job. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
What's the...
Wait, what was the request? How much did we give you last year?
$375.
$375 is the amount, and that came out of common council funds, I believe. So,
Make a motion to continue with the support at $375.
motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Thank you. Next item I have is closing some streets for the 2015 sculpture tour. Friday, June 5th, the following streets are being requested to be closed. Madison Street between 1st and 3rd, Court Street between 2nd Street and the alley to the east side of the post office, 2nd Street between Monroe Street and Jefferson Street, and 3rd Street between Jefferson to Madison. Now, 3rd Street, that's a pretty heavy travel street. It's just for the people that are walking to the unveiling of the sculpture. The time for the first three are from 10 o'clock to 11:30 at night. The fourth one, 3rd Street, is only when they're doing the unveiling, which is approximately from 5 to 8, and will only be closed as needed. If it doesn't need it, then it won't be closed. That's kind of a judgment call that night. Then on Saturday, June 6th, the request from the Sculpture Tour Committee is to close 2nd Street between Court Street and Jefferson. And that's for the the viewing of they have a movie, and then they have also a dinner that's being put on by Masonic Lodge that night. So that time period is from 4 to midnight. So that's the request. Have any questions?
Make a motion to accept the request.
Second. Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Whew. I think we're done. Department heads. Mike? Greg, anything you want to report? Nate?
Just so everyone's aware that the City of Decatur was spotlighted at the American Society of Civil Engineers Indiana State Section meeting. Myself and Tiffany Mag did a case study presentation on what we're doing for our project to a group of engineers there. And Tiffany was down in Cincinnati at the WEPTEC National Conference presenting what Decatur is doing regarding river water intrusion and TSO. So doing a little bit of marketing for the community in the engineering field and kind of promoting what we're doing here. So
Good.
that was really good work for us.
Thank you, Nate. Dan? Jeremy?
Couple things, starting Monday, and then 4 days next week, and then 3 days the following week, we'll be flushing fire hydrants and cleaning water mains throughout the city. I'd like to encourage everyone not to do laundry until after 5 o'clock, to avoid some potential issues. Monroe Street project is underway. It's going fairly well at this point. They're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's what's good to hear that this early into it. So the potential opening of the intersection is going to be May the 30th. So it's really progressing along nicely. Over the past couple months, we've discussed bringing back the warehouse at the Arnold Lumber Company that's been stored down in Geneva.
Oh, the train depot warehouse?
That did make it back to Decatur today. So we will be storing that until a further decision is made on what to do.
Fleming brought it back?
Yeah.
Right.
How'd it go?
So, good. There end up being
It's
6
over.
partial loads, or right at 6 loads, so.
I can tell you, you go out and look at the
The pile?
assembly pile, whatever you want to call it. It's not very impressive looking, I'll tell you. Now, if somebody smarter than us can put that together and make it look nice, more power to them. It was down in Geneva, and we brought it back. It's on the Elm Street City Street Garage, is where it is. Sitting outside.
We're continuing to sweep and fill potholes as the weather permits here, so a lot of nice little projects coming up here over the next several weeks. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. Roger? Ann? Mr. Carbach, you got something? Please.
You trying to ignore me?
How can I do that?
I'll make it as short as I can because I know there's other meetings people have to go to.
Benny?
It's only the third meeting.
Well, that's one meeting. I think there's another one he was referring to.
Operation Cleanup is going to start again with, as long as the weather cooperates. The first thing on the agenda will be vehicles. Every year we do vehicles. I gave the media the ordinances. There's always misunderstanding. People think, well, it's my property, and I can leave any type of vehicle on my property that I want. Well, our ordinance states that the vehicle has to be operable, has to be licensed, and it has to be insured. And so many people think, well, it's my property. We had a situation last year where the person called up the mayor after I tagged the vehicle and said, well, it runs and it's operable, and the mayor called me and said, I think you tagged the wrong car. I told him to call the person back and have them drive the car to City Hall, and they can look at it. The mayor can look at it. Well, he called the person back, and the person said, well, no, I had a wreck. I can't get it up to City Hall. So
It's not operable, is it?
then it's not operable. And cars with flat tires are not operable either. So people have to understand that. When we first started this project, as far as Operation Cleanup and as far as vehicles, Roger and Jim Officer Franz started this, and they had as many, the first year of 439, I think Roger told me. Then after that, Jim and myself did it, and we were in the 300 range. Last year, with the help of Officer Brad Stoltz, who I have to thank for helping me, we had 36 vehicles that we tagged, and with the cooperation of the people, we only had to tow 5 vehicles. So it's really working out well. So I just wanted to make sure everybody, with that cooperation of people, helps. If you have any complaints when it comes to vehicles, excessive weeds and vegetation, and accumulation of rubbish, I gave the media the telephone numbers. We got building and planning at 724-3814 and the street department at 724-3356. So,
Good job, Bill.
short, sweet.
Welcome. Good job, Willie. Thank you much. Yeah, you've made it work.
Yeah.
Melissa, I'm sorry, I didn't get Melissa Norby, you got anything to report? Melissa, real nervous. This is her first time reporting on anything here, so.
She doesn't get nervous.
The downtown the downtown planning process is underway. We had our second meeting this week, and we're starting to meet with local stakeholders and really kind of getting to the nitty-gritty part of what we need downtown and what people want to include in the downtown plan. So we would like to invite the public to a public input meeting for the downtown plan. It will be May 12th at Riverside Center from 6 to 8 p.m. And again, we welcome the public to check out the plans that we have in place, kind of a concept, and share your thoughts and ideas.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. You say from 6 to 8
Yes, sir.
on May 12th. No, sirs, I was not sergeant.
Supposed to say I work for a living.
Okay, comments, I think I got all the department heads. Anybody sitting around? Council members, anything you want to bring up? Thank you. Public? Anybody? I won't go around and ask everybody's name. Bob, Alan, do you have something?
Yeah. Excuse me, I think Nate's going to have to answer a couple of these.
All right.
How about, has anybody heard, or what's the process of the new park tenant at industrial parks? Anybody heard anything?
Nope.
We're waiting on Larry Macklin to get hold of us. Everything's gonna go through
He
Larry.
did quite a job for Burn, didn't he?
You did a nice job. You did a very nice job for them.
And another question I have for that area out there, and I've been asked by several people to know that we come to the council meeting, is the sewage smell around Walmart and Murphy's gas station out there. It's really strong when it starts warming up, and it's bothersome to people out there, especially the gals working at Murphy's.
That's the first I heard it, Alan. To be honest with you, I haven't heard that.
If that could possibly be a reason that people don't care for the industrial park area out there.
That's the first I've heard it, so I can't answer that. I don't know.
I think we need to check in on it,
Yeah,
because it's really bad.
Yeah, we'll have the sewage department look into that.
And another question I had was, when can we start seeing the city code book on the website?
All the revisions just went April 7th. I sent them to American.
April 7th, they went to
American
the
Legal.
American Legal, who's the firm that's organizing our code book and stuff, and I think they need a month.
I'm
I
not
would think.
sure.
It will be on the website.
It will be.
It's gonna get there.
It'll get there, just not there yet.
Long process.
It's a long process.
And you're still taping your meetings?
Yes. Did you
Correct.
see that red light over there?
Yeah, I know
mean,
that's
it's
how
on.
it works.
It's on.
But when can the public see that on your website? Isn't that how it's supposed to?
Nate, wasn't it, I think we were gonna put it on YouTube, weren't we?
Yeah, we're working with the vacancy on the clerk side here in the office. Aaron Hackman hasn't been available.
Oh, I see, okay, yeah. So I'd say here in the next couple of meetings, we should have them available
We
on the
have
YouTube.
recordings, we've been building
Yeah.
recordings up, and so.
And I wanted to know if you had a projected date to start your sidewalks and lighting on 7th Street.
Soon. We don't have a projected date, I know we did approve the funding of that.
What is there,
Yeah, so,
It will be over the next several weeks. I've talked with Jim a few times. He is fighting the weather on a couple foundation projects. Once he gets those completed, and he will put in some.
when he says Jim, he's working with the contractor, Jim Hitchcock.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Phyllis,
I just have a few things to make.
did you
about
have
the
something
record.
really? No.
He brought up about the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
That was published in the newspaper, so we need to make that a matter of record that we can now charge for
Oh.
that.
Yeah, we approved the policy of charging for those recordings.
So that
So
needs to be
it was
a matter of
listed in the
record.
newspaper, so we need to make that a matter of record.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
And the other thing is the annexation for St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm. That legal notice?
It has been published, but we have 30 days. It has to be published, and then 30 days it becomes effective.
Okay. So we need to make that a matter of record that it was published.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. That it, Phil? Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay the claims, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
And a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank everyone for your patience this evening.